Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Let's Make It Better. Today, we're going to put a coat of something on this reclaimed barnwood table. Usually old weathered wood is, well, just that, it's weathered. It's pretty happy dealing with all of the elements sort of as they are. So today we're going to do a little weatherproofing so it can fend for itself. What we're going to use is going to really bring out the natural grain and the tones that are already in this wood. This is a two-step process, and the first step, as it will most likely always be when we're refinishing something, is cleaning. So we've got our Do It All Right bucket, we've got some bleach, and we've got some trisodium phosphate. As usual, this is gonna hold the mix. This is for mildew, mold, green, growy stuff, not green, growy stuff. This is for degreasing, anything we may have spilled on the table at any point. Now, if you watch the deck video, here, I'm gonna do a much more mild solution, a very diluted solution, because I don't want to change the color of this wood. And if you add bleach, if I pour bleach on this table, it will indeed change the color of the wood. I used a really strong solution on the deck because I was trying to actually brighten the wood before I laid a coat of stain on it, and it worked. This is going to be the opposite. Very little bleach, very little of this, some water, we'll just get her done. We really don't want this chemistry to change the color of this table, but we also want to use enough chemistry that we don't have to use an abrasive to really dig in there and clean it. It's a little bit of a balancing act. You'll figure it out. Start slow. Sure. Probably fill half the bucket, something like that. I want it pretty diluted. Now, if you're not sure, just start in an area that you can't see very well, like pick a leg or something like that. Put your cleaning solution on, try it. If it changes the color, dilute it. If it doesn't work well, add more stuff. Check this out. You can see the water is kind of soaking in there. That's exactly our problem. Now, left to dry in the sun, this is no big deal. But put a pile of leaves that I'm never going to clean off on top of that, we suddenly have an issue. So in a situation like this, I prefer to get a coat of water on everything if I'm using a water-based cleaning product. That way it keeps our cleaning solution kind of evenly spread out on our surface. As you can see, the water soaking in. If I just poured straight cleaning solution, I would get all that weird streakiness, but with bleach. Your cleaning tool should match kind of, the texture of the thing to be cleaned. This is a pretty rough surface, so we're gonna use something that can kind of get in there and do this. This was I think I got this at the dollar store. Basically just gotta work our way through all the wood. Now, it is worth saying that neither of these cleaning products, the trisodium phosphate or the bleach, require any kind of rinsing. And that kind of matters because, well, it doesn't really do you a whole lot of good to clean all the mildew off and leave a soap residue or something like that. We will rinse it off, but again, it doesn't require that, so if we leave any behind, it's going to be okay. Now the easy part, we just let it dry. It's the future. Yeah, it's tomorrow. This took forever to dry, which is a huge indicator that this process is long overdue. We're going to use Danish wood oil. Now, don't get too focused on the Danish wood oil part. This is about as Danish as the Outback Steakhouse is Australian. And in fact, you could use Australian timber oil, which is also the same thing, or this is really just a blend of probably tung oil, mineral oil, maybe linseed oil, possibly a little bit of teak oil. In fact, there's no standard for what Danish wood oil is, but all of those other oils that I listed will work just fine on a surface like this. So, which one do you choose? I don't know. The internet has a huge opinion on all of them. I don't think there's much difference in any of them. I'm not really trying to change the color. All I'm trying to do is get some oil to soak into this wood so that when water hits that oil-soaked surface, it will bead up and run off. It's that simple. So for a surface like this, or anything outdoors, or really anything in general, there is no miracle product that is a one-time only application, right? It's wood, it's going to degrade, it's going to get hot, it's going to get cold, it's going to get wet, it's going to dry. UV rays are gonna hit it. You're gonna use it. It's going to take a beating, right? So there is no perfect solution. but this is way better than a lot of other solutions that seem to suggest that they're more better. I think some of the confusion lies in the marketing. In fact, I have two different products in very similar yellow cans. This Minwax product is also an oil-based stain, and on the back it says protect, and the last step in protection is adding a polyurethane top coat. This says right on top, protect with a polyurethane top coat. Now granted, these are for interior finishes, but if I wanted to change the color of this wood, they would work just fine outside. So let's talk about polyurethane for just a moment here. The thing about polyurethane is it's actually a resin, meaning as it dries or cures, all the molecules actually kind of stick to each other, in addition to, in theory, and hopefully, sticking to the surface that you apply it to. That's essentially the problem, right there. Because polyurethane sticks to itself, much like a paint surface, that when it starts to fail in sheets, and it starts to peel. Instead of actually soaking in and penetrating, it sits right on top, hopefully binding to the top surface and binding to itself. Like we said, as all things fail and need maintenance and need to be redone, the issue with polyurethane is somehow you have to get all the old polyurethane off to try again. This, you just add more when it's time. Here is an example of a polyurethane based finish failing. It's chipping away in chunks where the polyurethane has stuck to itself. Now this isn't that big a deal, and even if it was coated with an oil finish type product like this, it would indeed be showing its wear. The difference is with something like this, in order to refinish this, we now have to remove every bit of this surface that is already starting to fail. Anything we lay on top will simply stick to the already failing surface and then peel right off. Not saying polyurethanes don't have their place, but I can tell you that their place is not on outdoor furniture, even if it's an exterior polyurethane, and especially outdoor furniture with a rough texture. If you think you're going to use a bunch of polyurethane and suddenly make this like a slick bar top, just don't do that. All right, so I'm gonna give it a quick shake because that's what the instructions say, and I'm basically gonna pour this stuff straight onto the table and then move it around with a cheap chip brush. When you're applying something to when you're trying to apply anything to a rough surface, kind of a brush is where it's at to help work it into all the grooves. A foam brush is kind of just gonna get torn up. A rag is gonna catch on literally, well, everything. So this is sort of your best bet. You know, if it was a lot bigger, maybe we'd use a big roller, but it's not, so we're gonna use this. I could transfer this stuff to another container, but then it's just something else I gotta deal with. So here we go. I think this is going to soak up a ton of this product. So what I'm gonna do here is go ahead and hit it all, and then I will go back with a clean rag and just make sure there's no excess. But I've got a feeling this wood is going to be very, very thirsty, considering how long it took to dry. Well, there you have it. It's been roughly 15 minutes. It's still soaking into the wood. This will mellow out just a little bit more. The knots didn't absorb it quite as quickly, so we dabbed those off, but other than that, it's not greasy. This finish will continue to sort of weather with the wood, and eventually will, you know, as the wood dries out and turns that gray color again, it'll need another coat. And, you know, now we're in good shape if something like happens. Oh no, I spilled my water. This is essentially the entire point. The surface is just protected by oil. Instead of getting absorbed, the water is just sitting on the surface of the wood. It's basically just beating off and not saturating the wood, promoting rot and all sorts of other decay. So there we are. I think it looks pretty sharp. It's going to be protected. I don't know if one oil is better than another. If teak oil is better than mineral oil, or better than linseed oil, better than Danish or Australian or whatever. Frankly, I think the differences would be marginal. The internet may argue with me, but at the end of the day, we're just going on the principle that oil and water don't mix, and that's what we're using to weatherproof the wood. Basically, using the oil to displace water from soaking into the wood. Good luck on your projects out there. We'll see you next time on Let's Make It Better.